Fear of our darkness and projection is something very common in our society, for we have been misled to believe that negative equals undesirable, and thus, instead of befriending and assimilating our negative traits, we alienate and project them, seeing them in everybody else but ourselves. Keep in mind, friend, that all of us have blind spots, tendencies and traits that we simply refuse to admit are ours, that we refuse to accept and that we throw into our environment, where we gather all of our fury and rage to battle them, blinded by our own idealism to the fact that the battle is within and the enemy is much closer to home than we would like to admit. But this is only half the story. Next time you look yourself in the mirror, recollect also the moments of kindness and understanding you have afforded to others. The moments when you felt good helping a beggar, the times when you felt enriched that you forgave an insult, the occasions in which you showed understanding for your darkest enemy, and then step back and ponder, what if you should discover that the poorest of all beggars, the most careless of all offenders, the very enemy himself, are all within you? What if you will find out that you stand yourself in the need of the aid of your own kindness, that you are yourself the one who must be helped, forgiven and understood? What then? How can you approach such scenarios, and how will you know what is truly your projection, good or bad, and what is actually objectively true? To recognize your projections and to differentiate them from reality is relatively easy. If a person or element in your environment informs you, you probably are not projecting. On the other hand, if it affects you, chances are that you are a victim of your own projections. For example, if you find yourself being angry and hating someone for being confident in their own skin and labeling such a person as excessively arrogant and full of himself, it might very well be that the person is all of those things. But the fact that you were violently affected by it instead of just observing those traits can be a sure sign that you are projecting your own self-distaste. And that is the subtle but crucial difference. What you see in others is more or less correct if it only informs you, but it is definitely a projection if it strongly affects you emotionally. If you are overly attached to someone or something, or if you strongly hate and detest someone, you are either embracing your undesirable traits uncontrollably, or you are fighting them with all your powers. Observe this type of scenario in your life, friend, and understand that the first step in undoing a projection is always to realize that what you thought a person or your environment was doing to you is really something that you are doing to yourself. If you, for example, feel anxious, your automatic line of thinking will probably be to claim that you are a helpless victim of the people or situations in your environment who are causing you to be anxious. In this case, the first step that you should take is to become fully aware of anxiety, to feel it, to accept it and to express it, and to realize that you are responsible for it. You are tensing up and you are blocking your excitement or enthusiasm, therefore experiencing jitters and panic. You are doing this to yourself, and anxiety is in fact a case between you, and not you and everyone else. Such a shift in attitude means that you are now taking responsibility for what you are doing to yourself. The second step in fixing your projections will be to reverse their direction and gently do unto yourself what you have previously done to others. Therefore, I hate that arrogant person translates freely into I hate it when I am acting in an arrogant way. I have anxiety about this social event becomes I currently just want to be alone and not interact with anyone. My wife needs me translates into I need to be close to her. Keep in mind, friend, that we all have a tendency to render our self-image into what we imagine would be acceptable, but such a process will make your interpretation inaccurate, and every aspect of your self-image which is incompatible with what you superficially believe to be your best interest, all of your features which are alienated in times of stress and pressure, all that potential is abandoned. As a result, you will narrow your identity to only a fraction of what you really are, and you will be doomed to be haunted forever by the repressed elements of your personality that you refuse to give even the briefest conscious thought. But no matter how much you refuse to look into the dark, From the shadows of your soul, you will always feel these forces that enter your consciousness through anxiety, guilt, fear, and depression. Dare, friend, to be the kind of man that is not afraid to look into his repressed thoughts, desires, and beliefs, and embrace the challenge of consciously understanding them, expressing, playing, and ultimately re-owning the opposites within you. Because if you are not aware of them, if you do not own them, you will be forced to be aware of them and they will own you. Remember that owning the opposites in you does not necessarily mean you have to act on them. Take responsibility for everything that you are and do not fear that such elements might overpower you. On the contrary, the more you accept such traits as being part of your whole personality, the less negative impact they will have in your life. Be brave enough to experience truthfully your own projections onto others and deliberately increase their symptoms instead of denying them. If you are angry, try to become angrier. If you are fearful, make yourself even more fearful. If you feel guilty, increase your feelings of guilt, because by doing so you are aligning yourself with your dark side and you will reach a great resolution. If you can make yourself feel more guilty, it means that you can make yourself feel less guilty as well. If you are freely able to be more fearful, you are able to become less fearful, and if you are able to get angrier, you are also able to become calm. Understand, friend, that similar to projecting emotions onto others, you can also project qualities, traits, or ideas, those elements that you always see in others but never in yourself. Elements such as wisdom, courage, arrogance, wickedness, and so on. Qualities which you imagine others possess and which you think you absolutely lack or despise. Do your best to observe your tendency to project emotions and traits, good or bad, and keep in mind that if the emotions are not fully discharged in the correct direction, if the traits are not attributed in a righteous way, you will always slip back into the habit of turning these elements against yourself. Take on responsibility for your blind spots by playing out the opposites within you and grant yourself the chance to become a complete man by giving your repressed traits the possibility to expand your identity. Dare to observe honestly the elements that you project onto others, the bad ones as well as the good ones, and make peace with the aspects of your personality that you pushed away in the darkest corners of your soul. When you will feel the need to express rage and hatred, when you will have the urge to express disgust and repulsion for the emptiness of your soul, will you be daring enough to take one step back and re-own the aspects of yourself that you have previously alienated and integrate them into your life? Or will you give in to your ignorance and disregard the truth by continuing to spread poison in your soul and in the world around you? Your choice will impact not only you,